Auburn Blitz is now on the air, your daily look into what's happening in Auburn athletics. With your host, Andy Graham, Brett Pritchard, Randy Lee, War Eagle.
Hello again, everyone, and good Wednesday afternoon. Welcome into the latest edition of the Auburn Blitz. I am Andy Graham alongside Jeremy Jeffcoat. We'll be with you for the next hour, taking your comments, taking your phone calls, talking about everything going on in the world of Auburn athletics. Thank you so much for all of you out there being with us today. We got a lot to talk about. We'll break down some of the numbers that Randy and I talked about yesterday as far as comparing the rosters of Auburn versus their opponents in the SEC. We'll kind of look at that. I did a little bit deeper dive into that, came up with some interesting records as far as where Auburn is really in the last 5 years. So, yes, we've had some callers call in talking about you can't really blame it on all Brian Harsin, and that's absolutely true. A lot of this goes back to Gus Malzahn. So going back 5 years, Auburn has had some struggles that have continued. The question is, do you believe Brian Harsin is the man that can turn it around? Has he given you some kind of hope that he's capable of doing that as things are right now? So we'll look at that. We'll kind of broaden our horizon a little bit, look around the SEC at what happened. There were some really, really good games in the SEC. There were some great games around the country last week. We'll take a little time of those if we can, and maybe talk about some other things. But would love for you to be a part of the program. Give us a call, 256-234-6221. That is our number. You can dial us up on the Sportz Blitz Facebook page. That's Sports with a Z, and comment away. And we will get to as many of those as we can throughout the show today. JJ, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm cold, but I'm good.
Yeah, it all of a sudden got cold. It turned winter and just kind of skipped fall. But at least the wind's not blowing today. I told Kane, I went out yesterday, and, man, the wind, it felt like it was at least 20 degrees cooler when the wind was blowing. So
yes.
That's kind of rough on my old bones. But nonetheless, okay, starting here. Randy and I talked about this yesterday. I went back, and I broke down Auburn's roster, for the last 5 years, really 4.5. Going back to 2018, and compared that with everybody else in the SEC. Well, I did a little deeper dive into it and went through the record, went through the schedule every year, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22 so far, and compared Auburn with the team they played. Where was their roster as far as how it compared? So I broke this down into Auburn's versus a more talented roster. And when I say more talented, I mean significantly more talented. Auburn's record versus even talent. Not perfectly even, but within about 10 players or so. We're talking about 4- and 5-star players. And then Auburn versus significantly less talented teams. And I mean by they nearly double the amount of 4-star players on the roster than their opponent. And then you got the cupcakes. Okay, so Auburn's record in the last 5 years, 2018 to today, versus more talented roster, a significantly more talented roster, and that is Georgia and Alabama. That's 9 games against Georgia and Alabama. That's the only 2 teams Auburn has played in the last 5 years that has a significantly more amount of talent than they do. Auburn's 1-8. Now, you look at Alabama and Georgia's record against pretty much everybody else, and they're going to look a lot similar to that.
Yeah.
Tennessee just won their first game in 15 years. So that's kind of what we all realized, the Alabama, Georgia, how much better they have gotten over the last, and we get that. That's fine. One win was Auburn's win in Jordan-Hare, 48-45 over Alabama. So 1-8. Here's where it gets kind of uncomfortable for me. Record against even talent. Even talent. I mean, you LSU, Florida, a couple of times against one time I consider Ole Miss on pretty much par with Auburn this year, even though Auburn technically still does have an advantage as far as the roster is concerned overall. But nonetheless, Washington, out of conference game, Oregon, Penn State a couple of times, 7-10. When you got equal talent of an opponent, Auburn over the last 5 years, 7-10.
Can I put a qualifier on that?
Please.
Okay. The qualifier to me is if I'm loaded up with 4-star defensive backs and receivers, it's great. It's wonderful. Running backs, fantastic. If I'm loaded up on 4- and 5-star guys on the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball, I can beat you. You know, because a dominant offensive line travels. It goes everywhere. A dominant defensive line travels. It goes everywhere. And I think part of the issue at Auburn over the last 5 to 7 years has been a lack of high-quality offensive and, in some cases, defensive linemen, guys who are first- and second-round draft picks who are going to be able to go into a hostile environment in Oxford or a hostile environment in Baton Rouge and shut it down because you can just hand it off a few times and quiet things down. That I think is the one qualifier I would put on it. But the analysis is still valid.
I mentioned that yesterday. Randy and I were talking about this, and I said, you can look at it, and again, the numbers are, and there's a couple of qualifiers. You could say, okay, when I say, you got, within 10 players or so, as far as 4- and 5-star guys on your roster, 10 guys can make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the right 10 guys.
Yeah.
That makes an enormous amount of it. So there's that. You can't just look at the numbers. There definitely some. Every 4-star is not created equal. Every 5-star is not created equal. And exactly what you just said. It's what I said yesterday to Randy. If you've got really good high 4-star and 5-star guys on the offensive and defensive line, and at quarterback, they can make 3-star wide receivers, defensive backs, running backs look really good.
Well, what are the things that you think about outside of the Southeastern Conference, right? The teams who are competing with the upper level of the Southeastern Conference outside the conference. Clemson, for example. Ohio State, for example. What's Clemson's big turning point was you looked up and all of a sudden, man, they had some nasty defensive linemen. Christian Wilkins and some of these guys that are just dominant players. Ohio State, same thing along both the offensive and defensive lines. Guys who, top 10 draft picks at edge rusher and, this kind of stuff. I mean, Chase, what's his name a couple of years ago? I mean, just dominant guys on the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball. If you give me 3 dominant guys, 2 on the offense, 1 on the defensive line, or vice versa, and you don't have any of those, I've got a pretty significant advantage. 2-
and 3-star guys on your lines can make 5-star wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks look bad.
Yeah. I mean, listen, in the Southeast, in the recruiting territory of Auburn and Alabama and Georgia and Florida, you can't throw a rock without hitting a 4-star receiver. I mean, they're everywhere. You know what I mean? But, a legitimate high 4-star or 5-star offensive and defensive lineman, they're a little harder to come by.
Here's the most concerning one to me. Since 2018, Auburn against significantly less talented rosters, 13-7.
Yeah, that's
13-7. Now, when I say significantly, I mean you go back to. I'll just give you an example. 2018, Auburn plays Arkansas. Arkansas has 15 4-star, 1 5-star. Auburn has 42 4-star and 2 5-star. Auburn wins that game. You should. Against Mississippi State. Mississippi State's got 21 4-stars, 1 5-star. Auburn loses that game, even though they double the amount of 4-star on the roster.
Yeah.
You're 13-7 against teams that are significantly. That's coaching, right?
Well, it's coaching, but it's not necessarily game day coaching. Gus Malzahn's a good game day coach. I think Brian Harson's a pretty good game day coach. He's made some
Gus
interesting
Malzahn
decisions.
was a good first half coach.
But there's an aspect that often gets overlooked, right? Bring in all the 4 stars you want. If you can't develop them, that's a problem. And we saw that with Gus Malzahn. It stood out majorly at the quarterback position. If you can't develop that player, if those players aren't getting bigger, faster, stronger, better over the course of their 3 or 4 years, if you don't have a really high-level player development program, then it doesn't matter, because you're going to play in this league. You're going to play a lot of teams that can run with you talent-wise. But if their players are they got a little bit better technique. They've gotten bigger. They've gotten stronger over the last couple of years. You know, that is the kind of thing. I think player development sometimes gets left out of that. But it's a huge thing. It was a big albatross around Gus Malzahn because players did not seem to get progressively better over the course of a 3 or 4 year career.
Losses to Minnesota, Northwestern, and Houston in 19, 20, and 21. Those 3 teams combined have 13 or 14 4- and 5-star players. Combined.
The record against even talent or less talent is 20-17.
20-17.
That's pretty rough.
You're 21-25 when you take out the cupcakes in the last 4.5 years. 21-25 Auburn is since 2018 when you don't count the cupcakes. That's where we are. That's not any kind of an out. That's just the facts. That's the way it is. We'll continue to talk about this. Take your comments when we come back. More to come right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors. Concrete Basement and Walls, LLC, 205-229-0234. Call owner Eric McKenzie now to get your free quote now. 205-229-0234. Concrete Basement and Walls, LLC.
WOTM is the television provider for all Alabama High School Athletic Association championship events and special programs. WOTM is your home for the Super 7 football, state finals basketball, baseball and softball state championships, the AHSAA weekly show, and WOTM also produced the first ever football playoff show, Super 7 preview show, and reclassification reveal show. Your exclusive home for all things AHSAA is WOTM. Contact your local cable provider to request WOTM to your channel lineup.
Finding a job might be tough, but starting your new career has never been easier. Wellborn Cabinet in Ashland has a wide array of career opportunities with benefits. General labor production, skilled cabinet builders, product assembly line, shipping, over-the-road truck drivers, clerical, marketing, security, daycare, office clerks, and so much more. Apply in person, 38669 Highway 77 South in Ashland, or online at wellborn.com. Building cabinets, building careers, and building our community.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com.
Heritage South Credit Union in Alexander City is your community credit union, and they have been for over 80 years. Heritage South Credit Union proudly serves Tallapoosa, Coosa, Lee, Chambers, Randolph, and Chilton counties. From checking to business accounts, to share savings to club accounts, to their kids club and investments. Visit them online at myhscu.com. Heritage South Credit Union, your community credit union for 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hey, it's Brett Pritchard, and I'm here to tell you all about Sims Foods, who you know better as Wickles Pickles. Wickles Pickles, that 90-year-old recipe, wickedly delicious. Relish, okra, and pickles. From Saturday sandwiches, tailgate snacks, to holiday dinners with your family and friends. From their family to yours. Wickles Pickles, those wickedly delicious pickles.
Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious pickles.
Concrete Basement and Walls LLC, 205-229-0234. Call owner Eric McKenzie now to get your free quote now. 205-229-0234. Concrete Basement and Walls LLC.
No monthly payments till after the holidays. At Glenn Smith in Opelika.
Enjoy big discounts on Chevrolet Buick and GMC SUVs. How about a brand new Chevrolet Buick or GMC with no payments till next year? New Chevy Equinox as low as $329 a month. New Buick Enclaves up to $5,000 off. New GMC Terrains up to $6,000 off.
Get 0% financing, no payments till next year at Glenn Smith in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Auburn Blitz. Andy and JJ here with you. About 45 more minutes left in today's show, brought to you each and every day by Mortgage Pro. The Eric McKinley team, saving people thousands of dollars each and every year on their home mortgage. Give them a call today of 256-397-0248, 256-397-0248. Mortgage Pro, the Eric McKinley team. Ty says the media predicts Auburn 4th in the SEC. I'm assuming that may be basketball?
Yes.
JJ, do you think there will be changes on the Braves coaching staff in the offseason? The only change that I would do, he says, is a new hitting coach.
No, I don't imagine there'll be any. I mean,
unless Washington gets an offer to be a manager. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it would be I don't think the Braves are looking to unload anybody. And look, I can't put the series loss on Stitt. I can't put that on him. I do think Major League Baseball needs to think about baseball is not meant to be decided on 3-game series. It's just not. That's, for years and years, you had the 2 division champions that went to the championship series, and then the winners went to the World Series. And the 7-game series all. And then, the season's 162 games.
Back in the day, they played a 9-game World Series.
There's a reason for that, because baseball is a very much meant to be determined over a long period of time. So when you give the buys to the top 2, and then the top 2, the bats go a little cold or whatever in a 5-game series, against a team that's just won a 3-game series and gotten a little bit of a roll going, you're going to see more and more of these teams that get the bye getting beat. And because that's just not, they fell into this, more teams means more television, more people watching. But in baseball, it sort of takes away from the nature of the game.
Well, I guess it's really true for every sport. You see it in basketball. You see a team that starts to play well, they get hot during the tournament, and they make a run. You see it in you don't see it so much in football. I mean, it's happened. Pittsburgh seemed like they, were a wild card team, and they got hot late and ran, maybe went to the Super Bowl.
Well, the Giants that knocked off the undefeated Patriots.
Yeah, you have team, and maybe the Phillies are that team this year. Maybe it's the Padres. I don't know, but the Phillies seem to be. They look like that team.
My guess is the World Series is going to be relatively short.
You think so?
In favor of the American League. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
It could be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure a lot of people thought the Braves could beat the Astros last year.
No, that's true. No. But I do think part of what hurt the Braves, and you could see it, you get a week off, and it's good for your pitching staff, it's good for your bullpen, it's good for that. It's horrible for your lineup because you get going, you get in a groove, whether, you know, good or bad, a chance to work your way out of a bad funk or into a good one. I don't know. It was just it was one of those things. Maxey having a bad game in game one, that really did not help, you know, at all.
No.
So.
And the Phillies are hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a big deal. All right, 2 questions. Will the Braves re-sign Dansby Swanson, or should the Braves re-sign Dansby Swanson?
I think they should if it fits in the model, right? If you can do it and it fits in the payroll model, and it's a deal that Dansby can live with and the team can live with, then I would say yes. You know, the Braves are not. They're not the Red Sox, right? They're not the Dodgers. They can't just throw around, you know, $100 million deals. So the Braves have to be a little more careful with theirs. But I think I think the Braves would like to re-sign Dansby. I think in order to do that, Dansby's going to have to take less money than he could get on the open market.
And he probably will get some pretty nice offers.
I think he would like to stay, yeah.
Yeah, but I think he would like to stay too. Okay, let's see. Jamie says, why don't we see who preferred walk-on more at Auburn as we did in times past? Is it coaching up players that most coaches can't do? Why don't we see, let's see, who preferred walk-on more at Auburn as we did in times past? I'm not sure. Preferred walk-ons getting playing time? Is that what we're talking about?
I'm assuming. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. That's a fair point.
Well, I'll give you my answer on it, right? This is just what I think. One, high school football has progressed and gotten better and better and better. The coaching's better. It's a lot closer scheme-wise and terminology-wise to college football than it's ever been. So what happens is where you used to have, say, a preferred walk-on, which is just a walk-on, by the way. Being a preferred walk-on doesn't mean squat. It means you're a walk-on. But you come in as a walk-on, you have 2 or 3 years to develop, and then you earn some playing time. Mm-hmm. The problem is that now, because of how advanced high school football has become, and everything from scheme to dietary stuff to weight training and everything else, freshmen now come in bigger, faster, stronger, better, and more prepared to play right away than they ever have. So a kid who's still a walk-on 3 years down the road, who may have gotten better and better and better, is still not as talented as that freshman and sophomore that came in behind him. So it's harder for a walk-on to do that now because young players come in so much more ready to play now than they ever have.
We got a phone call, but we got to get to break. If you'll hold on through the break, I promise we'll get to you first thing in the next segment. Don't go anywhere. More to come right after this.
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, your compact equipment provider.
The Eric McKinley team at Mortgage Pro in Alexander City is the perfect lender for all your mortgage needs. Property values have increased and interest rates have never been so low. So if you haven't looked at refinancing your house in the last 6 to 12 months, Mortgage Pro is here to help you take advantage of that. Our team is closing loans in 15 days or less, so give us a call at 256-397-0248 and let our team go to work for you today.
Front aftermarket parts for your cars, trucks, and as well as your professional tinting solutions for auto, residential, and commercial building. Frontline Outfitters also handles vinyl wraps, spray-in bed liners, truck accessories, LED lighting, paint correction and detailing, and much more. Make sure Frontline Outfitters of Alexander City is your first call for tinting and aftermarket solutions. Call us today, 256-409-8100.
The interstate is backed up this morning due to an accident.
So you don't like sitting still on the interstate. Get the free